welcome to another episode, NUFC Talk TV Tactical Analysis with myself, the Geordie Yam Yam, Gary as your host. And I'm going to take a really good look at yesterday's game against Liverpool FC away at Anfield with our 2-0 loss and see if it could have been better. Now, there's obviously chances for both sides, but it was Liverpool in the end that took theirs. And there was some really good performances, individuals. There was some really good opportunities that could have gone to Newcastle. But before we get into that, I suppose what I need to do is just say, again, if you like the show, please give us the thumbs up. If you want, we would love you to become a member. There's umpteen choices that you can pick from now, depending on the type of content that you want to watch. But please, please, please try and support us going further. It takes me hours to do stuff like this and to try and get the narrative right. So all your support will be greatly received. And like I say, if you hit the bell, we upload videos virtually 7 days a week. So as soon as we go live or we're uploading a video, you'll get notifications. So apart from that, let's get into yesterday's game. And the first thing I want to go with is to show you that obviously this is, I'm doing all mine on a presentation. It just helps us. I'm going to apologise to start with because there's some of the screens that I've done to try and put two screens on the page. It just elongates it a little bit. So again, apologies for that, but you'll understand the format once we go through. So again, let's go on to the starting lineup. Not what was anticipated from Newcastle. We virtually thought that the chances of a Liverpool side would be exactly what it was, but there was a couple of scratches of the head, if you like, when we saw Callum Wilson come in for Isak. Wasn't what was anticipated by anybody. Nobody really knew that he was carrying this groin. But in actual fact, what I first noticed about this side when the game started was Eddie had set up a system that seemed to combat what I thought was going to be a couple of the main threats. Now, I said before the game yesterday, if anybody watched us live, that the people to look out for me would be the likes of Szoboszlai getting into the box and finding space, and also McAllister coming from that deep role and supporting the attacking line, which would mean that someone like Trent Alexander-Arnold will drop into the six, and we know sometimes Trent can distribute the ball really well. But what Eddie seemed to come up with is a tactic that seemed to restrict Trent to being more of a fullback. And, you know, we highlighted the fact that this, for me, Konate and Trent, I mean, we know that they're not quickest backline at all. I mean, you know, if as good as Van Dijk is, the lad's getting on a bit now. But if there was space behind, could we exploit it? So I'm going to go on to the first slide because for me, this is obviously right towards the start of the game. You get Tonali winning a tackle off a Liverpool attack. He does get lucky because obviously he gives the ball away at the start, but then he retrieves the ball back and he goes on one of these amazing drives into the start. And if you can see from this clip here, again, apologies because it is elongated to a degree. You've got your four going up top now with your two midfielders side by side here. You've got Gordon dropping into the hollow to try and receive the ball from Tonali. But what Tonali does really well is keep the drive going and he pushes on towards the halfway line. And again, I've highlighted the runners. Willock on the far side. You've got Wilson through the middle. Murphy on the right-hand side. Willock on the left side and Murphy on the right side with Tonali running through into the centre circle. Again, he's bypassed a lot of the Liverpool midfield. And as you can see now, we've got Liverpool literally turning, facing their own goal, trying to recover. And again, you know, it's at the minute, we're looking like it's 2-on-2 because of the recovery. Trent's well behind Willock at the moment. And this to me is decision time. And this is what I keep saying about what could happen potentially. Now we go on to the next slide. What we've got now is Tonali. He's over the halfway line. And if you have a quick look here, Wilson, because of his run forward, has put himself in an offside position. So at this point, that rules him out. And to me, that was a shame, because that could have been the difference between. If you have a look on this slide here, I've highlighted it. What Tonali had got in the situation just before was three options. The best one for me would have been through the gap to play Willock in, because he was clear through. I can't see the likes of Trent getting back to him or Konate keeping up with him, which would have potentially got a shot at goal. You had Wilson through the middle at a point, but unfortunately, again, his eagerness to get forward took him into a slight offside position, so he had to delay. And then you had Murphy on the other side, which was what Tonali opted for. Again, I'm not saying it was the wrong decision. I'm just saying that there was potentially better decisions as he approached the halfway line. If he'd have looked up, that he could have released the ball a little earlier. Going on to the next slide, and as you can see, now we've progressed the ball into the top, and we can see Murphy's got the ball. He's got a lot of space in front of him. Would have been perfect, as I've highlighted at the bottom, just to have rolled that ball into the checkered area for, as I say, by the looks of it, Wilson is still offside, which again, for me, looking along the line, he should never have been in there. But if the ball was played into this area here, you'd got the likes of Willock, as I've highlighting here with my cursor, that was still in a prominent position. That could have at least got or attempted a shot at goal, or fed Wilson in a more central position once the likes of Alisson had come out to close the angle down. So again, wasted opportunity in my eyes. I think that could have been much better exploited. Going on, and again, we all know what happened with Murphy. Off balance, probably noticed that Alisson had taken a step to his right for the potential ball across the towards the 6-yard far post area to get his body shape in line. But what Murphy did, he's off balance. The ball's, the weather was awful. He tries to catch Alisson out at the near post, tries his luck. But unfortunately, it goes high and wide. Going on to the next attack, and again, we're in a similar situation. We've got 4 versus 3 with players running on, and as you can see, what Murphy does now is he attacks the space in front of him. Again, I've highlighted the checkered area, and it's turning Liverpool to face their own goal, which no defender likes to do. He's doing really well. And again, I go down to this line here where Murphy then tries to come inside, and you've got the likes of Tino making a dash to the right-hand side on the angle, which then draws the likes of Van Dijk towards him, which again allows lots of space for the likes of Willock to try and drive into, even if you want Wilson to actually get in there. You've got the 2 lads now sitting at the back post, with Gordon anticipating anything that comes towards the back post may get on the end of. But again, I've highlighted here some of the areas where the lads should have been driving in towards, and the gap between Konate there in the middle and Van Dijk, because of Tino's run, gets extended. But again, unfortunately, we don't take the opportunity. And here again, we highlight it. You can see a lot of our players not really making that driving run towards that space. Tino's now taken Van Dijk out of the picture, and Tsimikas has literally stood Murphy up. And for me, again, you look at Meggs, you see the standing position of Tsimikas. There's a potential little ball through there into the channel for somebody to exploit this space in front of Alisson. And again, I've highlighted at the bottom here the areas where I believe would have been a much better option. So I then go on to the next one, and again, you're looking at the ball into the channels. He held onto the ball a little bit too long for me, Murphy. But again, is that because there wasn't much movement from the three. And again, I highlight Callum Wilson, who's virtually still in the same position. Willock did make a move, but he didn't move forward. He stayed more central. Unfortunately, then we get this little tackling from Trent, who wins the ball back. But again, decision making, ball along the floor, which has been successful from Murphy in the past. We have got goals from that. But if you look at the space that Callum Wilson's got in the middle there, an area ball towards the back stick may have been the better option. But again, two options. He chose one, but poor movement from Willock to drive into the space was, again, not there for that type of ball. And because of the movement from players, the likes of Tino, what you've got there now is a massive void for the likes of Wilson to try and get on the end of. Didn't materialise, but again, people will say it's a missed opportunity. But literally from that, I want to say mistake because it's not a mistake. I'm going to say missed opportunity. What you get then on the very next play is McAllister bringing the ball out. Now, I've highlighted Zoboslai. I've circled him here, and I've highlighted him on the bottom screen, and I've put an arrow to where this lad's going to run or make his run. And as you can see, you've got Tonali in front of him, all on the retreat. Nothing looks dangerous at this point. And it looks as if, yes, there's players out of position because we know Tino's made that run to create the position. What you've got now is the players, just out the picture here, you've got Dan Burn just sat behind on the halfway line. You've got Fabian Schär, who's coming across to support Tino's position. And obviously Diaz is out here. You've got Bruno in the middle. Supporting Tonali, who had made the run forward. So again, nothing looks as if it's gonna really hurt us at this point. But I'm going to go on to the next slide, and this for me was again, lots of really good from Newcastle, and again we'll go on. Tino is circled in red, and you can see by that being out of position, we've all had to jump across a little bit. Again, Burn and Schär covering the right back to the right centre back, which left an amazing amount of gap between Dan Burn and Lewis Hall. And Zoboslai has made the run forward. You can see where I've marked with the red there, the danger zone. And I thought once McAllister gets rid of this ball into here, I think that was Jota, passes the ball into Diaz. I thought Diaz was just going to go a slide rule pass into the danger zone for Zoboslai to run onto and obviously try and take a shot at goal. And again, just so we can see a little bit clearly, because obviously it's all squashed. Again, I've marked out the danger zone, which the ball should have been attempted to be played in for Zoboslai to run onto. But again, this is I say the good and the bad of Newcastle, because this next screen shows you the good. You get the recovery from Tonali. He gets goal side of Zoboslai because of what Fabian Schär's doing out here. Again, Diaz, being the typical player that Diaz is, holds on to the ball, doesn't release the ball when the opportunity was there. Zoboslai slows down because he was going to run into a offside, which allows Tonali to get it back into shape. So again, if you look across our line, we don't look in any trouble at all. We've got bodies behind the ball. Everything looks in order. We've got Bruno and Tino trying to retreat, get back into shape. No concerns. And then we go on to the final part of the jigsaw, if you like. So Zoboslai does really well. Because what he does, he just checks his run. He steps towards Tonali, then he just checks back with his shoulder and finds himself into a pocket of space. Diaz, like I say, he's faced up with Schär, and you've got both Tino and Bruno closing on the space. And again, I have to question why we are 3-on-1 at this situation. Maybe Tino could have gone out there. Again, I look at Jota, who's just hovering on the edge of the box there, who's making a run towards the danger zone, unmarked. You've got Big Dan Burns sitting centrally, who's going to become a key part in the next screen, and then we go to the shot. Now, what you get here is obviously Szoboszlai coming off Tonali. Tonali then, after the shot, turns his back towards the ball. Again, no idea where he is. Big Dan Burn, he sat directly in front of Pope. Again, we talk about as Pope being restricted with the vision. By the time he gets his hand, I mean, the ball goes through his legs as well, Dan Burn's legs. By the time he gets to the next shot, the ball is actually under his hand. And again, because of the evening, and there's a multitude of things, position, wet ball, unsighted. You know, you can question a number of things, but again, it's a case of it's poor defending. There was far too much space between Tonali and Szoboszlai for him to get the shot off. And again, it's just clever play, just peeling off your man, and again, just hitting the ball along the ground. Tonali turns his back. It then blindsides Dan Burn, who can't adjust his big frame quick enough to close his legs, goes through his legs and under Pope's hand. And just, again, I've tried to mimic from mine just the type of picture that Popey would have got from the two players in front of him. And again, not sure whether him stepping out to his right-hand side, which leaves quite a gaping hole to the other side. Hence, he couldn't quite get his hand to it. I still believe it could have been saved. So we're 1-0 down, and then we go on to quite a poignant moment in the game for me. And this is what I class as a really good opportunity. And I've drawn a line between Callum Wilson and Van Dijk. He's gone one-on-one with Konate. There's a throw-in down the right-hand side. Our left, their right, for Newcastle. Lewis Hall plays it into Willock, and then he plays it into Dan Burn. And Dan Burn just literally, with the outside of his foot, just puts his foot through it, and it loops up over the top for Callum Wilson to run onto. Callum Wilson gets onto the ball really well, and again opens his body up to try and shape the ball around Alisson into the top corner. But unfortunately, there is just not the shape on the ball that you want, and you can see by this picture here, it is nowhere near the goal. And that, to me, was, again, we go back to talking at the start of the live watch-along. You don't get many chances against Liverpool, and when you get them, you've got to make them count. And that, to me, was one of them moments. Could have gone in at half-time 1-1. It's a totally different mentality. It's a totally different approach to the game. And that was, a really good opportunity. And then we go into the second half. And again, we look at, there's been some substitutions at this point. And again, we've got an overload to a degree. We've got Harvey Barnes sat out on the left-hand side, who's totally unmarked, could drive into the space. You've got Anthony Gordon and Asula now, who's come on. Again, we've got Murphy out on the sideline, who's got the ball, and for me, just drive the ball to to the square or beyond the square, because you've got players that can run onto it. And again, it's just that delay where he just doesn't do the right thing. It's a deflection. Once the cross comes in, it's like a deflection that loops up. Alisson gets a little bit of a hand to it. And unfortunately, like I say, a little bit of luck on the day, and it could have fallen to any of the three bodies. You've got Fabian Schär there, you've got Anthony Gordon and Asula running free on the back stick. But unfortunately, like I say, luck sometimes just isn't on your side. And when you look at the next slide, you see the ball has fallen bless him, Asula's in the net there. He ran so hard to try and get onto something. And again, the ball just lands the other side of Fabian Schär to Trent Alexander-Arnold, who only has one thing in mind, and that's just to clear the ball. But again, this is why Lewis Hall on the attacking mode was so not involved, again, because of the danger of Salah for Liverpool. And again, this is where Trent just gets a ball over the top, and before you know it, they've got an attack on just from one clearance. And we said before, something that we don't do enough of. We don't gamble with players being high. We did take a risk today, but again, it's just that delivery of ball over the top for Salah to run onto creates an opportunity, which luckily for us wasn't taken. But again, a great pass from Salah to Diaz on the back post with the outside of his left foot, shapes it away from Pope and in between Pope and Burn. And fortunately for Newcastle, Diaz can't get on the end of it and puts it wide. I've just highlighted here McAllister. This is the build up towards their second goal. And again, you look at this. As you can see, Lewis Hall has stopped running. It's one of his few approaches going forward. We've got a nice shape here. We've committed 3 bodies. It's like 3 on 3. McAllister just comes out of the hole, and Tonali just gets drawn 2 players towards him, and he's just got to play a little simple ball through to Lewis Hall that can lift his head up and potentially play a ball through the middle for one of our lads to run onto. Unfortunately, the ball from Tonali slightly overhits, and McAllister picks it up. Now, the reasons why I highlighted McAllister was the fact that when he gets the ball, he has this massive ability just to move it out of his feet really quick. And as you can see by this touch here, the ball is out of his feet and he's on the run. Lewis Hall is on the turn and he's beaten from the touch, going on to the next. And as you can see, now we've got an overload on the right-hand side. Because Lewis Hall is out of position, Dan Burns has to move across. You've got Bruno in the middle there trying to do a recovery run to try and get back into the zone. And then you've got Fabian Schär, who's playing our central role. Going on to the next screen, and again, I've highlighted Bruno and McAllister because these two have it coming together in a minute, and that's the opportunity that's created by McAllister, which is really good play. And again, it's just a simple ball out towards Salah. Again, Burn has to come out and close the channel down. You've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, who's making inroads towards goal. Lots of other runners coming in and around the box. But again, the ones that I've highlighted are these two that I've circled, because when these come together in the middle, it looks really good at points. And I think to myself, well, Bruno's done a really good job there on this slide. Here, you can see them touch tight. Salah's having to stop and try and turn and shift his body to go down. Trent's out of, on an offside position now. So we have got the option to try and just slow play down. But what McAllister does really well is just literally put his backside into Bruno. He gets himself half a yard. Salah sees him, and it literally is just a clear shot and goal. And again, it's just clever football. We didn't give them many opportunities whatsoever, but 2 opportunities. And again, you can blame, finger point, things like that, but you still have to have the footballing brain to do these things. And it's just that step off, putting his backside in Bruno, puts Bruno on his heels, he steps off, and as you can see from the highlighted area, has 3/4 of the goal to aim for, which he duly takes. And again, I'll go onto this screen just to give you an idea of what he can do and how he can deliver a goal. And again, not really restricting the goal. It was more the fact that, it is good play by individual players that have got the mindset and know how to give themselves that yard of space to be able to turn and hit the ball. And again, a lot of this is just done without luck, without vision. It's just he knows. Again, I'll look at and I'll try and highlight, what vision Popey has got, because now we've got big Fabian Schär in his way. So again, with all this corner to aim at, I don't know, even if Fabian Schär wasn't there, whether Popey would have had a chance to save it anyway. But for me, it was a case of missed opportunities rather than being totally overrun, as we've seen by the likes of City in the past. And for me, like I say, this could have been a totally different scoreline on the day if they'd have chosen the right decision, if Newcastle had chosen the right decision at first, or at least created a shot at goal. And I think, for me, going through the whole match and watching a match, when you only really get one shot on target, um, sometimes tells its own story. And I sometimes do feel as though we allow teams, I would say, allow teams just to be able to take the win at a canter. And I mean, there was lots of people in the chat saying that Liverpool won that without really trying. And there's a point I have to agree to that, because it was definitely worth. It was our fault, if you like. The reasons why we didn't really compete in the final third and make the right decisions. I'm just going to go on to the passing lanes and show you some different graphs and things like that, because again, there's not many mistakes that I can show you from our defensive work. It literally was just the way Liverpool used the knowledge and got the goals when required. And again, having a look at this, you can see our back line across the back there. Bit of an arc with the four. You've got the two in the middle, and then you've got the four up front with both Callum Wilson and Anthony Gordon being very tight at the top. Again, not many thick passing lines to see there. Just going on to Liverpool's, and you can see across their back line the thick lines, and there was always the out ball, which was Mo Salah. They opted for that side. There was very little down Tino's side, which allowed Tino to support Murphy going forward. The only problem is it's out of position, and good teams, good individuals will always be able to exploit that, to which Liverpool did. So let's just take this now on to the chalkboard. And this is the screen that I wanted to show you more than anything else. And again, I'm going to try and increase so you can see it. And I've got this on the defensive. And again, what I wanted to highlight was there isn't many mistakes from any of the defence. Louis Saul, again, nothing in the danger zone. Going up in towards the midfield. There was a couple of times where he lost a tackle. But again, solid performance from the young lad. Didn't have any issues with him. Dan Burn, again, didn't miss a tackle in and around the penalty area or going towards the midfield. Fabian Schär, just outside the box where he lost the ball. Tino, again, just one outside the box midway in the half. But again, as you can see, won the majority of his one-to-ones. And I think that for me was the thing. It was individual battles on the day. Tonali didn't lose a tackle, even though he gave the ball away a couple of times and potentially was at fault for the both goals. Bruno, unfortunately, not having the greatest couple of games, gave the ball away in vulnerable areas twice, didn't lead to a goal, luckily. And again, Willock gave the ball away in a dangerous spot just down here. And again, it was supporting the likes of Louis Saul against Mo Salah. Anthony Gordon, just one loss out of two, but again, with him playing in the position that he was, I didn't expect him to be getting a tackle in anywhere in the defensive third. And again, Murphy, across the back line there, as you can see, supporting the cause, if you like, across the field. Again, didn't have the greatest of games, could have done better with some of his choices. But going on to our defenders, again, I've put everybody on the screen there that came on. And as you can see, nothing really that you can say was a contributory factor towards us getting lost. Defensively, we were very good. We just literally lost the space by committing bodies forward at times, which moves players out of position, and then you're always vulnerable then to a counter attack from really good teams. Just going to have a quick look at distribution. I'll take that off and we'll have a look at distribution. And again, this is going across, as you can see, everything's ticked. So I'm not going to hide anything. Lewis Hall on his distribution. Let's just close that off. Again, worked the line really well when he could, but again, restricted because of Mo Salah. But when he did get forward, lost the ball a few times, but a majority of his passes was very good. Dan Burn lost the ball a couple of times, but again, majority of his balls were good. Very, again, playing short, but if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. Keep hold of the ball. A little bit more red from Fabian Schär, if I'm honest with you. Some of them percentage balls, I think he needs to cut out of his game. Trying to get the long ball in was really awful at times because it was going straight through to Alisson. When he kept it short and he kept it simple, it became much better. Tino, again, not many passes went astray. Lots of green, which was good. Let's go into the midfield. Tonali, again, covers lots of grass, as you can see. Some good recoveries. A few, 4 by the looks of it, ball giveaways. Onto Bruno. Again, lots of grass covered from Bruno. Hasn't got the same recovery as Tonali, as we know, with his pace. A few more, probably one more pass or 2 more pass that went astray than Tonali. But for me, Bruno's overall game just isn't quite there yet, or it certainly doesn't seem to be. Willock, again, not really contributing much to the passing. His game today was more to get in behind Trent and try and create that overload on the left-hand side with Anthony Gordon and Wilson up front. Let's have a look at Anthony Gordon again. As you can see, quite a few more reds than I wanted to see, to be fair. But again, when you're playing in the opposition penalty area, and you're not obviously getting shots at goal, you're always going to give the ball away there, but nothing in the danger zones. Murphy, again, nothing in the danger zones, but lots of balls given away in the final third. Again, we talk about decision making, and Callum Wilson really doesn't affect. Let's have a look at the subs. Any real giveaways? Well, now I can see a couple for Longstaff in a dangerous position there. But apart from that, it looked like Trippier, who came on, one giveaway there. There was one giveaway there for Louis Smiley and Harvey Barnes. But again, there's a lot of green rather than a lot of red. But it's a case of, for me, it was supplementing the likes of Asula, who unfortunately didn't get involved in the game as much as I'd have liked. It's not really worth going on the shots, but I'll highlight everybody because it just shows you nothing on goal. And that to me is criminal. I think that we registered one shot because Alisson had to save it, but I don't think it was on target. But again, like I say, the golden opportunities fell to Wilson, who unfortunately failed to hit the target. Now, there's going to be lots of people out there in the viewerland that will look at this and say, well, Wilson's crap and everything else. And I just believe that was potentially the reasons Wilson was so poor. Is because of lack of game time. He's been out for so long. I just don't think it's in his locker anymore. But again, we look at, potentially there was enough opportunities in my mind, having looked at the entire game again, stop, start, rewatching, having a look at where players are going. to be able to get something, at least a shot at goal to make Alisson work. And for me, unless you shoot, you don't win anything. But that's me done anyway. So again, thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed what I do, like I say, it takes me hours to come up with this stuff. Give us the thumbs up. Share on your platforms for me. Allow the team that in the background to do a lot of work for us, the supports, by subscribing. And I will definitely see you later. Thanks for watching.